Building bone and muscle while losing fat at any age. Welcome back to Nobody Wants You Healthy. Today's podcast will focus on testosterone's magical ability to preserve or restore what can best be described as fitness. When we think of being fit, many different body types come to mind. A ballet dancer, a bodybuilder, a gymnast, a sprinter, a soccer player, or even a boxer. There are many ideals as to what being fit looks like. Since many body types can exhibit fitness, why can't yours? The opposite of being physically fit is quite unpleasant. It is a limitation on your ability to participate in life. Sadly, much of the US population knows exactly what that feels like. Being unfit creates frailty, regardless of size. Frailty is the inability to safely perform activities you might enjoy with or without risk of serious injury. Testosterone is proven to build muscle mass and bone density while reducing body fat in both men and women of all ages. Multiple scientific references to these published studies are available in my book, Nobody Wants You Healthy. The book is about achieving better health by avoiding the corruptions in modern medical science. Many valid studies over decades have shown that severe testosterone deficiencies in both men and women increase the risk of death from all causes anywhere from 50% to over 100% during the ensuing 5 years. Most of the increased deaths are due to the complications of inflammation and frailty that low testosterone levels create. Today's topic focuses on frailty caused by the loss of muscle and bone due to testosterone deficiency. These losses allow one to be easily injured. This is how elderly citizens typically decay and become disabled. Other than dementia, there is nothing more feared as we age than the loss of muscle, the thinning of bones, and the generalized weakness that robs us of our physical independence. Since testosterone depletion accelerates with age, this type of frailty used to only be seen in the elderly. The medical term for loss of muscle and bone, either with or without an increase in body fat, is called sarcopenia. But today, sarcopenia is no longer just a disease of the elderly. It is now regularly diagnosed in middle-aged men and women due to the depletion of their testosterone by the powerful hormone-disrupting chemicals in our environment, such as phthalates. These chemical toxins have created severe testosterone deficiencies at younger ages than ever seen before. Over half the US population 45 years of age and older has a severe testosterone deficiency. Most do not know it. And sadly, neither do their healthcare providers. The level used in international research studies to define severe testosterone deficiency in an adult male is at or below a level of 300 nanograms per deciliter. The level defined in research for moderate deficiency in a male starts around 450 nanograms per deciliter. As we will see in a future podcast on heart health, the American Clinics in Cardiology found men with levels below 550 nanograms per deciliter had a 30% greater risk of heart attack than those with a level above that. As dismal as these statistics are for men, it is women who make up a slightly larger majority of those with low testosterone. Due to inexcusably poor medical education on this topic, female deficiency of their most abundant bioactive hormone is rarely mentioned or taught. Attention is just now being given to the physical diseases and mental dysfunction affecting women with low testosterone, just like it does in men. Recent science literature from Germany defines the level of a severe deficiency in women as a blood level of 25 nanograms per deciliter or lower. They note that a moderate deficiency seems to begin at about 35 nanograms per deciliter. The critical need for testosterone in restoring women's health in general will be the focus of our next episode on Nobody Wants You Healthy. In both sexes, healthcare providers misinterpret the range printed next to the results as being the optimal range for testosterone. This is grossly incorrect. Not that long ago, my local lab listed 0 to 80 as the range for women. I found it incredible and illogical that 0 was in the testosterone range for women. Even today, lab-determined ranges extend far below the level of severe deficiency in both sexes. You see, labs are just reporting the average levels found in the local population. And since the majority of those going to the lab have a deficiency of testosterone, the lab ranges calculated this way reflect the levels of a depleted and sick population, not an ideal level of testosterone. Bone thinning, also called osteoporosis and osteopenia, is a critical component of sarcopenia. Bone thinning is responsible for 2 million bone fractures a year in the US. In less than 8 years from now, 70 million US citizens over 50 years of age will have bone thinning. It's a largely preventable disease, and so it doesn't have to be that way. The cells that manufacture bone and increase bone hardness require estrogen. We know with certainty that 100% of the estrogen in our bone cells is manufactured inside the cells from testosterone. While this was initially proven and published 22 years ago, most physicians have no knowledge of this landmark study. We are left to wonder why the simple and comparatively inexpensive treatment of testosterone pellets inserted into the superficial fat layer every 3 to 5 months is not yet the standard of care. Doing so would likely prevent billions of dollars of healthcare costs and the lost productivity, sadness, and deaths these fractures cost Americans yearly. But don't expect a change in physician education in response to the healthcare crisis of osteoporosis. Because if we don't recognize that deficient levels of testosterone are the obvious cause of our physical decay, we will never prevent or treat sarcopenia. But then again, maybe that's the point. Sarcopenia necessitates many expensive medical treatments and is only slowly lethal. As discussed in our initial episode, most physician medical education is funded directly or indirectly by the pharmaceutical and healthcare corporations. The average fracture in each person with thinning bones generates tens of thousands of dollars in revenues. The likelihood of a second or a third fracture after the first one in a person with sarcopenia is very high, thereby generating even more revenue. This, of course, makes physician education and fracture prevention contrary to the financial interests of the very same corporations that are funding medical education. Obesity, which can also be part of sarcopenia, is likewise the opposite of being fit. The added weight from obesity hastens skeletal destruction of the spine, long bones, and joints that are already weakened from bone loss. The abdominal fat that is located around internal organs is called visceral fat. It is especially prone to enlargement during testosterone deficiency. Visceral fat reliably shrinks in response to a steady-state testosterone restoration, such as can be done with testosterone pellets. The low testosterone responsible for increased visceral fat also causes increased rates of diabetes and generalized inflammation. This is why diabetes frequently occurs with obesity. The proven ability of testosterone to combat diabetes is a future discussion on Nobody Wants You Healthy. Diabetes is another huge revenue generator. As you can imagine, presentation of the studies proving prevention or reversal of diabetes with testosterone will be shocking to most physicians who were never educated on this topic. But back to our discussion of visceral fat. That beer belly in aging men and women is oftentimes a warning sign alerting us to dangerously low testosterone levels and the disease states that it causes. Simply put, sarcopenia, with or without obesity, progressively destroys one's ability to remain physically independent. The loss of muscle and bone results in frailty that is devastating and expensive. Sarcopenia in modern times is most commonly caused by a deficiency of testosterone. The most logical, cost-effective, and successful solution to treating or preventing sarcopenia is placement of a steady-state supply of testosterone into the fat of those at risk. Sadly, those at risk is now nearly 100% of the population as we age. The in-depth studies of sarcopenia only give lip service to the role of testosterone. While they admit to the critical importance of testosterone, they then repeat a bold-faced lie. Likely, in order to please the author's corporate sponsors, they frequently state without any evidence that testosterone is just too dangerous to use in sarcopenia. If this outright lie didn't kill tens of millions of people yearly, it would be very funny. To be clear, you can't achieve a professional sports physique simply by supplementing with testosterone. And even if one begins a resistance training and exercise program while having testosterone elevated to youthful levels, most of us would just become fit. And really, that would be just great for everyone. Looking forward to speaking with you soon in the next episode of Nobody Wants You Healthy.